Greetings, Globeheads and Flurfers. You know, recently I was watching the Non Sequitur show, and there was a debate on there. They had Godless Engineer, Fight the Flat Earth, the Constable Conspicuous, and a guy that goes by the name of Flat Earth Jesus. I think, if I remember correctly, this was basically a debate between Constable Conspicuous and Flat Earth Jesus. And Flat Earth Jesus said something that he completely got away with, that he should have been called out on. Now, I am not faulting the folks that he was debating with. I'm certainly not faulting the constable, because these people, especially folks like Flat Earth Jesus, they're going to throw so much nonsense at you that you just can't respond to all of it. But I wished at the time that somebody would, and so I thought I'd make this video responding now. Specifically, what they were talking about was watching the path of the flight of the sun, or the path of the sun throughout the day. And Flat Earth Jesus was making his claim about how the sun circles around over the flat disk. And it was being pointed out to him how, if this was the fact, that you would be able to see the sun 24 hours a day, and he was explaining why you wouldn't. But he made a remark in there that you can only see the sun for about 50 miles to 100 miles of its path over your head, even though he admitted that the total path of this sun around this circle was around 25,000 miles. And as I said, they were so busy trying to explain to him how, as long as the sun was above the horizon, as long as the sun was above a flat plane, you'd always be able to see it, that they kind of missed the ridiculousness of this point that he made. Again, I don't fault them, but I want to address that. So I'm talking to you, Mr. Flat Earth Jesus. Here's the problem with your claim. Okay, let's take this clock here. The hour hand on this clock goes around once every 12 hours. Okay? Imagine that you were a little tiny bug, ant or something, and you lived inside this clock. And for some reason, you only saw the hour hand pass by between the 6 and the 7 here. You lived halfway in between, and so you saw it come into your field of view at the 6 and leave your field of view at the 7. Now think about this. If that was the case, we know the hour hand goes around once every 12 hours, and you see it between the 6 and the 7, so for a distance of 1/12 of that. That means that the time that you would see the hour hand would be 1 hour, and the time that you would not see the hour hand would be the other 11 hours. Now, sir, if you could see the sun as it passes overhead where you are for 50 or 100 miles, as you stated, and the total path of that sun is 25,000 miles, and it does that in 24 hours, do you see the problem here? 50 miles is 1/500th of that 25,000 mile trek. So you're claiming that you see the sun for 1/500th, or you said 50 to 100, 1/500th to 1/250th of the time. If you could only see the sun in your field of view for 50 miles, and your day was 12 hours long, Your night would be 6,000 hours, sir. How do you explain that? You made this point because you were trying to explain why, in response to what somebody else said, that you can see the sun appear to trek across the sky in a straight line on the equator at the equinox. And you said you're seeing such a small portion of it that you don't see the curve, which is ironic because you guys expect to see the curve on the surface. I digress. You see half of the sun's trek on the equator at the equinox. The day is 12 hours long, the night is 12 hours long. You're seeing half of that circle. Explain to me how you can watch half a circle and it appears to be headed in a straight line for the entire half circle. Or explain to me how you can see the sun come into your field of view 50 miles away, leave your field of view 50 miles away, travel another 24,900 miles in the same amount of time that you were looking at it. Because that claim makes no sense. If the sun was circling overhead, you would see, depending on where you were on the earth and what time of year it was, you would see half of that circle. You would see the sun travel in a semicircle every day. It would rise somewhere in the northeast. It would set somewhere in the northwest. And you would witness a half circle of the sun's travel throughout the day. And not 50 miles. 12,500 miles. Half of that circle. Not only that, but there's other ways that we know that what you stated is not true, because we know where we know when it's noon in one place and the sun is setting in another place. Now, I didn't look up the exact areas, but somewhere in East Asia at noon, it is late afternoon on the west coast of the United States. And we know that's way, 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 way more than 50 miles. So explain to me how it is that you're watching half of this sun's circle and it's appearing to travel in a straight line. This is the one thing I have never, ever been able to get any flat earther to explain to me. I'll put the link to the original debate down in the description of this video. I urge you all to go watch that and watch how this constable basically wiped the floor with Flat Earth Jesus. But yeah, there's a lot of entertainment to be had out there on YouTube, folks, but don't fall for the snake oil.